record this presentation as well. So hope that is okay with you. If you don't want to be on the section, please maybe hide your video. But we want to make this educational and more people can cover it. And the slide of today will be available to you after today, so you can use that information. So just briefly about SDGs. SDGs are 17 UN SDGs goals that are for the environment. And today, Cybil will tell you how the wine industry is related to this different SDGs. So all of our program at Encompass is surrounded with this SDGs. So if there's another way you can look at SDG, this is one of my favorite diagrams. We call it the SDG cake. So we have the SDG goal for the planet, which include the climate action, life below water, life on land, the biodiversity goals, and then we have people and prosperity. So the idea is we have the goals for the planet first before we can achieve peace and partnership. So just a little bit about Encompass. For those of you who join us the first time, we are a social enterprise. We create a lot of experiential learning program like today. Ideally, it's going to be in person where we are holding a glass of wine, but with the social distancing rule, it's a little bit difficult now. But we do a lot of programs. Each program has a specific theme. So today, the theme is climate change on wine. And we also have different programs like coffee, wine, and beer. We also have circular economy and stuff. So if you have an organization, a corporate, or your group, you want to do some programs like this with us, please message and reach out to us. So climate action, we're going to talk about climate change today. So climate change, it can be very big, it can be very broad, something like the IPCC, the International Panel of Climate Change, but it can be also very individual changes. So today we will go to look at more individual, what individual can do to do climate change. And what exactly is climate? So we talk about climate a lot, and what's the difference between climate and weather? Climate is average weather over a long time. So weather is very short time, for example, like the weather this weekend, and it's a very highly complex system. And the climate is changing because of natural causes and action of man, such as greenhouse effect. But unfortunately, now with the human-induced climate change, we are seeing a lot of changes in climate because of human-induced behavior. So we also hear climate change and global warming, it seems to use interchangeably. It's slightly different. Climate change is referring to long-term changes in climate, also including changes in precipitation, wind pioneers, melting glacier, whereas warming is just referring to the temperature change. So today we're going to look at climate change, not global warming, because we're looking at the broader effect. So sorry, I'm just going to see if anybody's in waiting room. Nope. So just a little bit about climate change. With the right now, our forecast, our carbon emission is definitely rising, but it's hoped that with the combined effort for everybody in the planet, we can able to have extreme emission cuts, meaning our carbon curve will be flattened. But right now, this is an uncertainty, and I think this is a very big unknown, given now COVID is happening, and what happened after COVID, what happened with the production pattern. So this is a slightly more difficult background, a diagram. I'm not expecting you to understand all of this, but basically it means climate change is affecting all our ecosystem, and it affects genetic diversity, affects migration, timing, it affects composition, species interaction. This is a paper in science. It's very complicated, but the take-home message here is it affects a lot of what the animals or the plants will react with the environment. So today we'll be looking at grapes and specific. So for example, the temperature change will cause the wine, the grapes to go into different latitude and altitude. So this is one aspect of it. So Cybil will give you more exact example of that. So without further ado, so I will give a chance to Cybil to explain to you what climate change and wine is about. And she would introduce herself and tell you a little bit more on the topic. And I'm sure it's going to be a very educational section today. So Cybil, I have given you to be as a host.
Yes, thank you.
So today's section will be quite educational. We'll tell you some details about how the different grape varieties affect the climate change and what can we do to do responsible consumption in drinking. So Cybil, you need help?
Yes. Right. Sorry, I need to. Can you see my screen right now?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, here.
Yes, okay now.
So you can.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. Right. So thanks, Benita, for a brief introduction about her company and also some SDG goals. So once again, thanks for coming to the tonight's session. My name is Cybil. So I'm a wine and natural lover that I'm also my time, I think since quite a decade ago, I'm started to learn about viticulture. And at the same time, I've also got experience to work for a conservation NGO, Viticulture, who is more focusing on animal welfare and also the climate action thing. So it really gives me some opportunity to understand more the importance of the biodiversity. Because of my background as well, because I'm coming from the education industry, I always think that education is a key of the global response to the climate change and the sustainability as well. So I started to learn viticulture since 2014. So this is right now I have been studying viticulture, and also I got a wine the formal qualifications from WSET UK, and I also I earned a French wine scholar. So I hope tonight will give you some background information about the climate action as well as some sustainable choices on the wine consumption. So I would like to share with you my little viticulture journey in New Zealand. I started my viticulture journey in 2014. At that time, I traveled a lot in Burgundy as well as New Zealand as well. I'm so blessed. I've got a valuable experience working with some award-winning winemaker. I learned the viticulture. I learned some wine chemistry and how to do a sustainability business as well. So at that time when I work in New Zealand, not very long, but this time, this good memory always remind me how we should preserve our biodiversity and how to embrace our nature when we talk about the wine productions. So before we start to talk more about the climate change thing, I would like to invite you to do some polling. So can you grab your phone or maybe your the laptop to go to the menti.com, menti.com, and then you can enter the code 3712623. So there will be some questions coming up. So I share the screen right now. So I repeat, you can go to the menti.com, menti.com, and enter the code 3712623. So I'm now sharing. Everything. So can you see my screen right now? It's about the menti.com. Okay. So right now, yes. Okay, it's the first question about what is your most favorite grape variety. So wow, quite a lot of people quite like the red grape variety. Pinot Noir always, Pinot Noir and Cabernet Sauvignon, they are both winners of that. How about for the white wine? Do you like Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc? Okay. So maybe we wait a few more seconds before going to and the next questions. All right. Okay, so we have a win-win situation here. So we've got the Pinot Noir and also the Cabernet Sauvignon got the same percentage. All right, let's move on. The second question. So what is your most favorite wine region? So this one just cover both New World and the Old World wine region. When you talk about the New World growing region, that will be USA, Australia, New Zealand. How come that will be one third? Yeah, wow, quite impressive. Quite a lot of people like Australian wine that I like it very, very much. The Australian wine, yeah. Germany, Riesling. Some people may like Riesling from Germany or some ice wine as well. So in Germany also give us a lot of great variety, yeah.
Okay. You must like German red wine, right? Because no one picked white wine.
Yeah, true. Yeah, right. Maybe they quite like the Germany. Yeah, the Pinot Noir. Yeah, it's quite. Germany also do some quite nice spec Burgunder. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. All right. So I think let me take a picture here first. Okay. So now I understand more about you all regarding what kind of the grape variety you like. So that is something that really related to the presentations afterwards. So the climate change, as Benita mentioned, is not just something about affects the ecosystem, but also make a very big impact, I would say, on the agricultural product, because grape is also kind of the agricultural product. In the whole process, it's not just simply about the grape itself. It's also talking about the climate change on the winemaking process, the bottling, and also about the packaging as well. So it's a long journey to go, I can tell you. So this is some of the in-depth data I would like to share with you. So by 2030, okay, that will be 10 years to go. That will be the temperature that will be rises between 0.3 degrees Celsius and up to 1.7 degrees Celsius. So that you can see that, well, actually it's just 1.4 degrees Celsius. Is it a big deal? But I can tell you that it's a big deal, especially when you all, most of you, and talk about that you quite like the Pinot Noir grape. So some of the grape variety, actually, they do make a huge difference if that is some temperature is a key indicator about the grape quality. For example, I remember quite a lot of 1/3 talking about they quite like Pinot Noir, and then let me see, Pinot Noir and also right, and also Cabernet Sauvignon, and then followed by Syrah, or you call Shiraz if you like the Australian wine. So here we've got quite a lot of, well, the red wine lover there. So quite a lot of grape variety, actually, they have their unique characteristic. For example, like the Pinot Noir, actually, they are the cool climates grape variety. You cannot find a good Pinot Noir in the very, very hot continental climate or in the inland area. It has to be growing in the best area, should be in a cool continental climate, and possibly with the soil that will be the limestone soil. So for the other hand, that if you are like the Syrah or Shiraz, that will be having have a more tolerance on the temperature. As you can see, the cool climate grape variety that covers the Pinot Noir. And then when you take a look, the Syrah that will be in the middle of the chart, then you see that actually they can be, the growing season temperature can be in a more moderate climate, right? And then followed by the Cabernet Sauvignon as well. So different grape variety, actually, they do have a preferred growing region. So you will see that quite lots of Syrah, if in France, you can find it in the premium wine region that will be in the Rhone Valley. If you like the Australian wine, that you can easily find the Shiraz, maybe in the Hunter Valley, or maybe in the Barossa Valley as well. For Cabernet Sauvignon, of course, if you are a wine lover, then you will find it in Bordeaux. And also, if you like a newer wine, that you'll be easily find in Napa Valley, in California wine as well. Of course, in Australia, they also produce quite a lot of good Cabernet Sauvignon grape varieties. Same case in South Africa as well. We talk about Pinot Noir. It's a very classic Pinot Noir, the red wine. It's a noble grape variety. If you are the fancy about Pinot Noir, I'm sure that you will truly, truly appreciate their finesse and elegance. But however, Pinot Noir is a kind of the grape variety. It's not easy to grow. In our viticulture world, we would say it's quite fragile because they cannot produce a very high yield, and also it's quite difficult to grow. They need to have a very, very perfect growing place, and also about the ideal soil to be best suitable with. As I mentioned, that would be good in the limestone soil. That would produce a very high quality of Pinot Noir. But however, due to the climate change, if that particular year have a very extreme weather pattern, or maybe in the longer term, that would be have a climate change issue, that will have a significant impact. For example, if that particular year is very cooler than the normal growing temperature, that will have a lot of unripe flavors, or maybe the tannin is not that silky enough, or maybe that particular year, especially in France, the vintage variation is very important, then you will foresee that actually the grape will have a high alcohol but lower acidity. That will be totally having an impact on the wine structure there. So here comes some great expectation. I didn't mention about what is your let you choose your favorite wine region in England. Actually, maybe in 10 years' time, you maybe find a very good Pinot Noir planting in England. The reason why is England is a very good place at the moment. Is producing a very high quality of sparkling wine due to the place is so cooler. But however, if you think about right now, the red area is the current wine region. You can see the European countries, Germany, and also about France. You can see some from the South Africa and Australia as well. But think about if we have a climate change issue, we no longer we have to find some new area to grow the wine. Of course, England will be a lot of winemakers is thinking about to plant the vineyard there, especially from the champagne house as well. Quite a lot of famous champagne house, for example, J, they've already planted a vineyard in Kent and also in Sussex area. So that would be giving you some new ideas, maybe in 10 years' time, if you're looking for a Pinot Noir grape variety, maybe England would be a choice as well. So let me share with you some of the challenging years for in the wine world. In 2016 and 2019 is the most hottest year in the past 5 years. It's not just something about the hot climate, the hot temperature. It's also about the extreme weather due to the climate change. So in 2016, that was a very disaster year if you are Burgundy. lover, because 2016 is not a good vintage at all. I would suggest if you have a vintage 2014, is a white grape variety, that will be a good vintage year. If you are looking for red wine, that will be 2015. That will be much better, the vintage variation, because in France, vintage variation is a key indicator about the grape quality and also about the aging potential as well. So you see in Burgundy, they have the April, we call the spring frost. If you see the left-hand side picture, actually the winemaker, they are trying to use some heat, some fires to warm the buds, because April time is the important growing season. If you can see that if that is the spring frost there, most likely a lot of crops that will be lost, especially if you are talking about Pinot Noir. Is not easy to grow. So same case in Chablis as well. In 2016, the same thing, but this time they have the hail damage. So the hail damage is not just something about losing your crops. It's also about there is the possibility to have more disease coming up. So you see that France is a very vintage variation wine region. We're not just simply talking about the grape variety. We are talking about the soil, the weather conditions, and also the winemaking know-how. And this makes the French wine is so popular, and people just love the French wine. It may be a reason behind, because most of the grape varieties that the French region they are producing is having their unique characteristics. So 2016 is not a very good year. I would say that it's a quite challenging year in the old world. When we call about old world wine, we are talking about most of the European region. So let's have a look on the other side of the world. Is in 2019. In the new world, we call California, we call USA wine, Australian wine, New Zealand wine, and also South Africa. We call this as a new world wine. So 2019 is also a challenging year. You may recall from the TV saying that a bushfire happened in California and Australia. If you see on the right-hand side, the image, you see some smoke horizons there because the smoke taint. Actually, smoke taint is not acceptable by the winemaker, and also not acceptable for the wine consumer as well, because the smoke that will have a smoke taint, which will have some smoke particles attached to the wine. So I'm sure that no one will want to taste having some smoke taint in the wine. So definitely it's not an ideal case to bottle the wine for the 2019 vintage. Actually, I can tell you that most of the premium wine region, especially in Hunter Valleys, that would be an hour journey from Sydney. They are doing quite a lot of good quality of Semillon, Chardonnay, and Shiraz there. Actually, they don't produce a 2019 vintage, just because they have encountered more than 3 months bushfire, and then you can feel that actually quite a lot of smoke taints to be attached to the grape. So these 2 years, 2016, 2019, is definitely not a good year in wine. Yeah. I hope you guys tonight are not tasting something 2019 Australian wine. I hope so, because there's no such of the wine have been produced so far. Yeah. But we are talking about spring frost, the hail damage, and then it's also about the water accessibility as well. If people are talking about Amazon, rainforest is the lung of the planet, and then I would say that Andes Mountain actually is the lifeblood of the earth, of the planet, because they do produce a lot of natural resources to the nearby region, like the country, the Argentina, and also about Chile as well. So just because the climate change, so that the Andes actually is reducing the snowfall. We took some analysis in the Nimari catchment area. Nimari actually is located in Chile. So the snow cover compared with 2018 and 2014 actually is 15% less. Then you will see that they have less water to be provided for the agricultural product. I'm not just saying that they have less water to the grape, but also for the overall the agricultural product as well. Other impacts about the climate change, you see quite extreme area, flooding in the California vineyard, and they also have the soil erosion due to the heavy rain, drought area. It happens in most of whole world country. For example, in Germany, they do have a drought problem, Italy, Spain as well. So about the quality of oak, that would be a very interesting thing that I wanted to share with you, because about the increase of the climate change and also the increase of the CO2, that means that the tree, they may grow much more faster. So that will make the wine barrels, because the wine barrels, that will be a very, it's a kind of the if you wanted to give a longer aging process, you need to have wine barrels. But given that, due to the climate change, that it will have less concentration of the wine barrels. That means that they will also give you a lesser concentration on the wine structure. So this is also the key thing that we have to think about. The quality of the oak will be getting impact as well. So pests and disease always find in the vineyard, but right now we have more and more pests, not just simply in the ordinary the wine region, but you can also find more in North America, in Canada, in USA, and also in England as well. You see in the middle, it's a very cute pest we call the Asian lady beetle. It's quite a new one found in some wine region. Although the name is called Asian lady beetle, but they have been found in non-Asia regions so far. Yeah. So this is quite a summary that we talk about the climate change. Because of the climate change, then we will have different options for the climate variables, whether we wanted to do some cool climate grape variety, or we will do some warmer climate grape variety. It's also talking about a wine oak. We just offered another, because increased the CO2, the trees are growing much more faster. It's not just something about the grape quality, because the grape quality, we do have a big impact, because if it's a warmer temperature, that will give you the wine, the alcohol level will be much more higher, and then having a lower acidity, that will make your wine having a not so good balance or structure. Same wise for the grape quantity as well, because some of the grape variety actually, they don't, they're having a very lower yield, like Pinot or maybe grape variety. If you lose the crop, then you pay as well. So that's why quite a lot of the winemakers, they're trying to locate it to a higher altitude area, because for the high altitude sites, then give you a more high diurnal range. What we call the high diurnal range is give you a much more temperature difference that can give the grape having a more acidity, good acidity, and also the freshness of the grape. So here's we come on the climate change about the grape harvest. So this is the chart I wanted to share with you. Is if we are talking about France region, we will think about, okay, we will have the Alsace wine, because Alsace, they do have quite a lot of, in France region, they do have the regional diversified climate. For example, in Alsace, it's much more sunny and dry. In Bordeaux, there will be much more on the maritime climate, a warmer maritime climate, because this is something influenced by the Gulf region and the Atlantic Ocean as well. For the Burgundy and Champagne, there will be much more a cooler continental climate. Then when you come to the southern part of the France, the Languedoc, then you may feel quite a Mediterranean climate as well. So that's why for the mesoclimate and the microclimate, that will give the winemaker to think about, okay, how about for the grape harvest? Maybe in 30 years ago, Alsace, when they do a normal harvest day, they were doing in October. But for the past 10 years, they've already started to do the grape harvest in September, just because they are trying to avoid overripe grapes or the sunburnt grapes that you can see in the left-hand side. There's a Chardonnay grape, they got a sunburns there. If there's some sunburnt grapes, you can't use it at all. And also about if you are having more and more overripe grapes, that means that you have a more high sugar level that will turn to a higher level of the alcohol that will totally affect the mouthfeel and also the flavors as well. But however, there is some positive notes because during the polling that there's no person votes for having like the Sauvignon Blanc, the white wine. Actually, some of the grape varieties, they will have some kind of the herbaceous notes that you will be easily find maybe in Sauvignon Blanc or maybe Bordeaux Sauvignon. But due to the warmer temperature and there's some kind of the wine chemistry that will be suppressed, they will be depressed, something we call the methoxsine pyrazine level, that will have lesser veggie and herbaceous notes there. So that is the good thing, that's the positive notes thing. Maybe later on you can try some different Sauvignon Blanc and feel the difference here. If you don't believe climate change on wine, then you have to hear what the winemaker says. This is the Tuscany, the winemaker. He made a very bold anticipation, we call, because he's looking about the past 10 years time about the Bordeaux wine. He is Italian, of course, but is fully aware that actually the climate change do have an impact, particularly on the European countries. And in the past 10 years, lack of rain, drought is a key problem in Bordeaux. And in 2017, actually the Bordeaux wine, they lose almost 1/3 crops on it. And he made an assumption that maybe in 10 years time, Bordeaux will have a Sicily climate. Do you believe it or not? I think some of the scientists and also about the industry body already fully aware that there is the climate changing pattern on that. Because of that, I think quite a lot of the French winemaker, they wanted to do something to fight for the climate change. And the good news that actually they have already proposed some new varieties can be planted in Bordeaux. If you are a Bordeaux wine lover, you will be quite like about the grape variety, like the approved grape variety, like the Merlot, the Cabernet Sauvignon, or for the white grape variety, that would be Sauvignon Blanc, or and also about the Muscadet, etc., etc. That is the approved grape varieties in Bordeaux. But however, due to the climate change, they have to think out of the box. They have to think about to plant some grape varieties that can be cope with warmer conditions. So that's why they propose to plant some Portugal grape variety. For example, if you like the port wine, the Portugal wine, you may hear about the Touriga Nacional. This is a very high quality of grape variety native in Portugal that will be allowed in Bordeaux very soon. Hopefully there may be a few years time, you can try to taste Bordeaux wine, but maybe in a different grape variety. The other reason why they chose this kind of the grape variety is mainly because they also give a very natural resistance to the pests and also for the disease like the grape rot, because for the grape rot that will be totally let your crop will be lost if you are having some pests there. So they have to make sure that the grape variety is proving ability for specific diseases happen in Bordeaux. So I'm sure that the winemakers are fully about the importance of the sustainability. But this is not just enough, because when you talk about the sustainability, when you're talking about the sustainable choices, it's not just do it by the winemaker itself. It covers quite a lot of stakeholders. You and I are the stakeholders as well as wine consumers and also some investor. I'm sure that maybe you will hear quite a lot of green investment, the sustainability investor, etc. So this is also coming up to embrace the whole society and the social to be tackle about the sustainability farming as well. Not just simply about the government, but also some NGOs, they take a very good initiative to support the wine growers, how to tackle about climate change, and also to develop a more biodiversity friendly, sustainable viticulture as well. But the more important thing is, no matter it's for the environmental purpose or financial purpose, at the end of the day, this kind of the initiative, they really hope to give our current generation and also to give the benefit for our future generation as well. So because today our topic will be go through a lot of sustainability initiative towards the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. So I will focusing more about a few areas. For example, like renewable energy, what kind of thing that the wine farms or the wineries, they can do it? Well, actually quite a lot of wineries in New Zealand or in Australia or in other parts of the world, they have already using the solar energy, the solar panel to do some ventilation, the cooler ventilation. That means that they no need to use the air conditioning there. They can save the energy costs. They can also reuse the energy there. And the other thing is they more to use the natural lighting because of the solar energy. The other thing is also about the water conservation, because water is our life. And what we need to do is about just give the grapes just right the amount of the water to the right place and let them to be growing in a better concentration of the fruit quality. If you think about, if I'm doing some fruit irrigation, we give a lot of water to the vine. It's not good for them because they don't need too much water, because too much water that will give the grape juice and the concentration will be maybe thinner. So what we need to do is just give the right amount of water and the right amount of the measures for them. And also, the winemakers also will do something good for the soil and the vine as well. We wanted to let them to get healthy and get more natural fertilizer instead of using the chemical fertilizer. So you see that actually the sustainable wine growing is a much broader concept. It's not just something about the grape itself. Actually is talking about the whole system, the whole the ecosystem that would bring no matter for the biodiversity and also to embrace nature and the wine making process as well. This is the lovely picture that I wanted to share with you. If you got a chance to taste a glass of New Zealand wine, have you ever think that actually the sheep, the lovely sheep in the photo, actually they're also involved in the production as well? So this is one of the quite my favorites of the winery in New Zealand. So they will allow the sheep to go to their vineyard to eat the weeds, because that will also produce a natural fertilizer to the soil, to the vineyard, and of course the sheep got something to eat, right? And on the other hand, the sheep will come back in summer and to do the leaf plucking, because if we are not letting the sheep to do the job, actually we may need to use the machine to do the leaf plucking. But I think it's a very good initiative and a lovely idea from New Zealand wine growers. They have to think about involving the animals to get part in the sustainability, the cycle as well. So next time when you taste New Zealand wine, think about the sheep, how they support us to do this initiative. So the new viticulture practice, we talk about the water management, we talk about the pest management as well, soil. But however, some of the winemakers, they make another new initiative there as well. They will make some organic wine, some biodynamic wine, and some natural wine as well. Because for tonight, we will not much cover those 3 kinds of wine, but I will give you some idea about how they took this kind of the different approach. For example, if people are talking about the organic wine, actually that will be made from the organic grapes. That will be, it's quite straightforward thing. But if you're thinking that, oh, some of my friends saying that they are drinking about biodynamic wine. So what is it about? So there's a very interesting story, because for the biodynamic wine, it's not just simply about talking about the organic grape growing. It's also talking about some spiritual thing. It's also talking about the astrology thing. They try to think about the vineyard management as a whole ecosystem. They wanted to involve more natural ingredients to put it in the vineyard. They will use the cow horn, as you see in the picture on the right hand side. They try to use the biodynamic calendar, like our Chinese lunar calendar, the full moon, the new moon, what is the best day to do the hand harvest, what is the best day to taste the wine, etc., etc. This is it's a whole journey. It's about the astrology. It's talking about the viticulture practice as a whole. Also, there will be a trend that people would love to drink the natural wine, because there will be no chemical additives there, and then they will use the natural yeast, etc., etc. So this is quite a lot of options in the marketplace that the people can drink this type of the wine in the market, and also some vegan-friendly wine as well. I just took a glass of the vegan-friendly champagne 2 months ago. That will be perfectly paired with some organic food as well. So this is quite a new trend in the last few years. So I give you here's an overview about the organic data. When we talk about, New Zealand doing this kind of the practice, and how about for the other parts of the world? You will see that actually some popular wine regions, for example, like USA, like Australia, or the Europe, actually they have around, for Europe actually is quite promising, because 8.5% of the European vineyard actually is organic certified. I would say that in Europe, Germany, France, they're doing quite good on organic wine. Also in Italy is coming up to do more as well. And you see that New Zealand, they do quite a good initiative as well. They've got 7% of their New Zealand vineyard already got a organic certification. And they're still coming up maybe from Argentina and Chile. They're trying to pick it up as well. So you will see that some of the label maybe you have already familiar with it. For example, the USDA organic that will be easily to be found in some food as well. So just give you some idea how much percent of the vineyard actually is being organic. But of course, the data is coming from 2015 to this 2016. They may be having some changes, but just give you a brief idea what it exactly looked like. So besides for the consumers or for the winemakers involvement, actually, NGO, they do play a very important role on this. And I'm very pleased to share with you all about something that I really think what a conservation NGO should do, because I'm also coming from a conservation NGO background. This is something that WWF South Africa team, they did a very good initiative called Conservation Champion in South Africa. Let me tell you why they do this kind of the initiative. Because since year 2000, South Africa is doing much more international business, and due to the political reason, they are not allowed to do some export market. But since year 2000, they are quite ambitious to do more international business. In view of this, most of the wine farms, they are maybe in the flatland, they're also trying to do the expansions and expanding, moving up to the slopes as well. And it comes out some biodiversity flags, because South Africa, they are very proud of the biodiversity. They have a very famous biodiversity. They call the Cape Floral Kingdom. A lot of beautiful flowers, the insect, etc. that we have in the South Africa. But due to the expansions for the vineyard, actually they're also having some issues, challenges as well, especially for about the water conservation, the water pollutions as well. So at that time, the WWF South Africa, they take they step up and then talk to the wine farms, the in charge person, and then they developed a plan called environmental management plan to support the wine growers, because the wine growers, they want to do something good for the nature, but they don't have the knowledge, or they don't have the management system to tell them how to do it. So with WWF South African team, they support the wine growers. So far, they already support, they already awarded 40 the conservation champions to the local farms. They will have a very strict, the rigid criteria for the sustainable farming as well. So it's not just something about the checklist. You need to do something, water management, you need to do some soil management, not just simply about that. It's not just simply about the grape itself. It's something about the true respect of the biodiversity and our surroundings, because it's all about our ecosystem. I think that is a very, very good stepping stone that a conservation NGO to take initiative to work with the government, to work with the industry bodies to make a better place for South Africa. Because at the end of the day, if you make your winery to get more sustainable practice, then you will have more sustainability business as well. So right now, over 90% of the South African wine industry, actually they've embedded the environmental responsible farming practice. They are very, very biodiversity friendly practice to be implemented in their vineyards. And South African wine actually is a true leader. I would say that it's a true leader in terms of they are getting quite a lot to demonstrate the balance between the nature and also for the farming as well. So having this kind of the conservation champion logo is not just something about the marketing checklist, but also that will be promotes and other sustainability business there. Is about the ecotourism, and they will attract more travelers to go there to visit the farms, to buy the wine from them as well. So it's totally a win-win situation. You preserve the biodiversity. At the end of the day, you can also preserve and to maintain your business as well. So after doing the winemaking process, then it comes to the bottling process, right? So this part, I'm sure that you and I will be got involved on that because we are the wine consumers there. In the traditional way, normally for the wine that will be bottled in a glass, but right now we have more and more choices. 2 months ago, there is a very famous whiskey producer. They have already launched a plastic-free bottle made from paper. So you see that more and more countries, they do take initiative to reduce the carbon footprint, because for the bottle that will be very heavy. If you are thinking about, they need to ship into take a sea shipment to Hong Kong, they may be taking a month to do so, right? And then that will be a lot of carbon footprints. But if they are using the bag in box, you can see that for the Sweden and Norway, actually 50% of their wines are packaged in bag in box. And if you think about, wow, that's huge, the alcohol level, right? Because for the vodka, it's too much. Then I would highly recommend that actually you can also choose the canned wine as well, because it's easy to do the recycling, aluminum package, rather than a glass bottle. At the same time, that they will provide you a different volume of the drinks, so you can just drink responsibly. If you don't need to drink 250 milliliters to wine, then you can just simply to take a small can of the drink. That's easy for you to control your alcohol level. At the same time, I also will recommend some of you maybe trying to see some Tetra Pak at the left-hand side. It's very popular in North America. You can easily find this kind of the packaging in Canada and also in USA as well. Before we start the presentations tonight, actually, I did have a talk to some of you, the audience, about the SDG thing, because tonight we are all talking about the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals, right? Actually, in the alcohol industry, we cover 13 SDGs here. So he is the diagram to let you have a closer look on it. So tonight we have already covered maybe 13, the climate action, right? We are talking about how the climate change have an impact about the wine grape. And then we are talking about the water management, how we can make use of the water consumptions, how we reduce the CO2 emissions given that we have eco packaging. On the right-hand side, we also just talking about the recycling thing and the sustainability, the farming practice. But quite interesting, I wanted to tell you more about the number 5, increase the women, the representation. The reason is I can see that for the past 10 years, we see more and more talented female winemaker in place. I still remember that 2 years ago, during the Women's Day in March, there were I've got a chance to meet almost 20 female winemakers from the world. They are coming to Hong Kong to celebrate the female winemaker success. So this is a really, really good move, because in winemaking industry in the past, it's much more male-dominant industry. But I'm so glad that we find more and more talented female winemaker. They're doing a lot of great wine. So maybe later on when you drink a glass of wine, you can think about, okay, is it your wine is towards the 13 SDG as well? So this is a very good thinking and reflections for what you drink. Of course, we are always talking about we need to have a responsible drinking initiative. We are not trying to promote you have to drink a lot of alcohol, but just be responsible choices would be good enough to keep your health. On the other thing is about the no profiteer, right? If you are buying some wine in South Africa, actually they may have a label called fair trade as well. Fair trade, I'm sure that you may heard about fair trade in coffee bean. Actually, they also have the fair trade in wine grapes, in the grapes as well, because some of the negociant or some on the champagne houses, actually they will buy some grapes from the grape growers. And from the SDGs perspective as well, do you give the right, I would say that give a fair price to the grape growers as well, is also towards the SDG requirement as well. How to make the sustainable choices? We're talking about smart drinking, climate action. We're talking about the packaging as well. But you can also, in a very action way, to try to find some biodynamic wine and organic wine as well. I did have a conversation with some of the leading wine sellers in Hong Kong last week. And I'm glad to see that. And I'm also very pleased to share with you that actually you can easily, right now, you can more easily to find a biodynamic wine or organic wine when you do some filter search. For example, for the left-hand side, there's the wine seller. It's quite a leading position in Hong Kong. I think most of you, if you like wine, you will hear their name. And then you can see that actually for the filter, they've already do some biodynamic or organic. So if you like biodynamic or organic wine, actually just take the filter and then they will guide you to some of the selections from there. And then you may find some wine seller online shop, they also have a specific page about the Go Organic. Then they will list out lots of selection choices for you. So I'm so glad that right now Hong Kong is more open-minded to try some new biodynamic and organic wine, because most likely for some, especially for some Hong Kong sophisticated drinker, I would say they are quite conservative about the biodynamic wine or organic wine. But I'm pleased that that is a new wave to go. Yeah. And if you wanted to know more about some biodynamic or organic wine, I mean that they're about the viticulture practice and etc. that I would highly recommend you. There's some kind of the resources you can make use of it. On the other hand, this is a very interesting thing I wanted to share with you. In UK, when some of the leading wine sellers, they are doing some wine tasting about the biodynamic, actually they will go for the app. You will see that there's an app calling Biodynamic Canada. So when the days come, you say, okay, today is a good day for fruit. That means that, is it good for wine? Yes. So at that day, you can, when you open the wine, you will feel more fruity. If that's the day is the flower day, when you open the wine, they will have a more floral flavor. So quite a lot of restaurants, when they do the wine tasting, especially for the biodynamic wine, they will make use of this calendar to choose the day to do the wine tasting. Of course, right now, because due to the COVID-19, that maybe it's not that perfect and good to be try to do the wine tasting, but hopefully when the situations gets better, then all of you can enjoy your wine with your friends, or maybe try to to taste more organic wine or biodynamic wine as well. So some key takeaways from today, after some of the information that I shared with you. So maybe we all, not just simply yourself, but also for my self-reflection, we have to think about, do we want to embrace ourselves to try some new or different grape varieties? For example, if you are the Bordeaux wine lover, would you like to try a Cabernet Sauvignon maybe from Australia, Tasmania, or maybe would you like to try some wine maybe from England, the Pinot Noir in 10 years time? So this is something that we need to think about our future consumption as well. Of course, I would say that organic wine, biodynamic wine is kind of the label. It's more than that. It's more than a certification. It's more than a sustainable choices. It's also talking about how we embrace our nature and the farming practice as well. Bear in mind that because the biodiversity is so important to us, it's kind of the ecological life support for us. So I hope from today's presentation, I can give you some insights about actually when we do some wine consumption, we can also make a very positive impact on the environment. Last but not least, if you also think about the reduce the carbon footprints and how to reuse your glass bottle. For me, just like myself, if you see my picture here, actually this is also the biodynamic wine that I quite like in the Bordeaux. Well, I will just don't throw away my glass, the bottle. I will reuse it and maybe to do some flower arrangement as well, or maybe we will do some glass recycling process here. So that's the end of my presentations, but I'm also very excited to let you know that the Encompass Hong Kong, we will also organize a new initiative in October. We are the independent organizers to do the TEDx event on climate change. So I will be the executive producer for this event. I'm so really looking forward to see all of you in October online. Via Zoom, there will be a lot of speakers. I can tell you some of them. Some of them are coming from the former government officials. They will deliver a very insightful speech for us to talk about the climate change. We also will talk about some climate change on water, food, energy, and transport as well. So don't miss the dates, and I hopefully to see you all again in October time. So thanks for joining my presentation tonight. I hope my information will give you some insights about how we can make our sustainable choices on our wine consumption. So thanks for joining me and us today. And so so here's I give you so over to you, Benita. Would you like to do some debriefing?
There's a question. I'm not sure if that's from Wing Chi or from somebody. Is asking whether the wine from the Boss paper packaging wine, are they usually not as good of a quality? And is there like a technical problem for bottling a good wine in a non-glass container? So is there a technical difficulty, or it's just more like a thing?
Okay, I see. That's a very good question. I'm glad that people ask it, because for my assignment when I did the wine qualifications, actually I'm doing a dissertation about the wine packaging. So we did do a survey, not just simply in Hong Kong, but we also do the survey with the USA, the people. Actually, when you're serving the wine in the glass bottle, they will give you some good perception. If you're pouring the wine from the BIB, we call the back in the box, or maybe you're pouring the wine from the glass of the bottle, they would just give you a perception of the BIB one is less attractive. Okay, it's kind of the perception, but I have to tell you that it's something about apple to apple. You cannot compare a Bordeaux wine 1983, okay, the Bordeaux wine, and then you compare the BIB wine. I would say that for the bag-in-box or the starter pack, or for the aluminum drink, the kind of drink that would be good for you to drink young. Okay, so for the BIB, I would suggest that the life cycle, maybe within a year you to drink, and it's not intended for aging purpose. So that's my answer. But in terms of the quality, I would say that quality, it tells quite a lot of it. It's not just something about the packaging. It's also talking about the winemaking process as well. But I can tell you that you can see quite a lot of spirits. They are packaging in back in the box. That's the reason behind, because they no need to have the longer aging process, right? Because if you wanted to do the wine with a longer aging process, you have to be better serving in a bottle. So when you compare whether it is less attractive or not, you have to compare apple to apple. Yeah.
Thank you. So any other question? Maybe Sharon, Russell, Russell, you want to ask something?
Yeah, well, actually, I have a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Cybil, for your excellent presentation. I mean, for me, I think you really summarized all of the major issues from, production to distribution and consumption. So, and especially your summary on all of the kind of climate change issues around grape production. And, one of the memorable quotes that Bordeaux will be like Sicily in 10 years. I mean, if I were a wine grower, I would be like in a massive kind of panic.
Yeah. Yeah, they do have a panic, so that's why they are eager to plant the new grape varieties in Bordeaux. It's not easy, I can tell you. You ask the French to change the system. If you are the if you are a wine lover, you notice that maybe in France they have the AOC, the appellation, the regulations.
Yeah.
It's not easy to ask the French people to change their regulations and system. I can tell you that it must be something really imperative to change. Otherwise, they won't change it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like some of those wine varietals, like, okay, I've heard of one of them, but the other ones, like, I have no idea. And they're probably thinking about, using other ones as well, like, California and whatever. So, is this, and I'm not sure how long it takes to plant the new varietals and have the vines grow to kind of a production level, but is all of that going to be able to happen within, like a 10-year?
Yeah, I think that would be, if they wanted to plant the new grape varieties in Bordeaux, it will be happening in 3 years' time. But however, it takes more time because in Bordeaux, they also have kind of the regulations, the appellation system. So they will require minimum of the aging first. And you have to keep the wine in the wine barrels. And then you have to keep the wine in a certain time before you can release to the market. So maybe I would say that maybe in 5 years' time, or maybe in up to 5 to 7 years' time, that will be available in the market. But as a French person, they will be very, very, I would say that be careful about the wine productions, because Bordeaux is a true leader in winemaking. They don't want to risk their reputation as well. Yeah. But it's a good for them to realize what's happening in the climate change. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
When you talk about biodiversity in a vineyard, how do they think about it? Because I mean, it's pretty much just a monoculture And yeah, maybe they have sheep and a few other things, but how do they think about promoting biodiversity through the winemaking
Yes,
process?
because when you do, for example, when you do the winemaking, very likely you will do some water pollution as well, right? When you do the water pollutions, that maybe let some surrounding, you maybe have a chance to lose habitat. Maybe some of the insects or plants, they will be suddenly disappear, distinguished because about the human activity, the water pollutions and the soil as well. So that's why in WWF, the South Africa team, they try to make a plan, say that, okay, when you do the sustainable farming practice, you are not just doing good for your grape. Come on, they still have a flower there. There is still a beautiful insects there. You have to protect them. And also, you also need to obligated to grow some trees nearby. So give them a nature for your friends, the insect friends or the flower friends to enjoy the nature. Yeah, because when they do the farming practice, it's no doubt that they will be having some destroy there as well. So they need to give it back to the society, making more, grow more indigenous trees there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, my name's Terrence. I met Benita some years ago. I through Slow Food in Hong Kong. But I wanted to just say thank you so much for all of the insights and the information you provided. Our company manages a vineyard in Bordeaux, and we converted it into an organic Cru Bourgeois. And fortunately, we managed to get Cru Bourgeois Superior certification a couple of years back. So it was quite incredible. But many of the things you said really are hugely challenging for us. And it's a moving target. It's a moving target from the point of view of the regulators and the organic protocols that we have to put in place. And just to give you one indication of how difficult it is for us, one of the requirements as an organic a grower is that you're not allowed to put anything into the plant. You actually have to only use topical treatments, which means that every time it rains, you have to go back out and put your treatment on to protect. Really quite challenging and very costly and a huge problem. And
labor is by the human labor to do this.
It's human labor to do this. On the other part that I wanted to mention is that you're absolutely right about this change of temperature and the effect it's having. The problem is that we tend to see it often as a one trend line. Actually, it's not like that. It's actually the problem for the grapes is that they don't have enough time to adjust. So the vine is quite hardy and it's quite an incredible tree. But the problem is that in the springtime, it waits and waits and waits until it thinks it's warm enough and then it buds. And then when the frost comes, it burns them all out. And this has been happening the last couple of years, far more than ever in the history of Bordeaux. And it's been really damaging and really hard. And we've been doing all those things. We light candles, we have blowers. I mean, if you're Mouton, you can, and the Grand Cru, they use helicopters actually. And they're whipping them around to warm up the air. But it's really a huge problem. Just somebody mentioned thinking about if you're a grower, what would you be doing and how quickly would you be introducing these new varietals? Part of the issue is the market. The market will accept Bordeaux's that don't have the same assemblage. And that's a real problem. We've seen it with biodynamic, and we had a vineyard manager, and the team wanted to do biodynamic, and I actually opposed it because the market will not provide you with the compensation for the effort that you put in. we're just not there yet. And we, you know, we're at organic and it's really hard, and people laughed at us when we went organic. And now what people have seen is that it's probably the best way to go. And so more vineyards have started to sort of try to convert, but it's really painful. You have to go 2 years follow, and it means 2 years without sales, essentially, without production. So it's a tough road to go through.
Sure.
And I think that it's going to be really hard for all of the old world people. I know that the big Spanish producer has been buying up land and moving everything up north, but everyone can't do that. And Bordeaux, most people that I know in Bordeaux can't do that. So we're going to be stuck trying to manage what we have. It's going to be a really tough time.
So thanks, Terence, your insight as well. I'm not, well, actually, beforehand, I didn't realize that you are a vineyard. You're coming from the, from the Bordeaux. Sorry if I'm getting some wrong information in front of you.
No, not at all. No, I was just filling in some gaps.
Yeah, but so it's also about my position, because I keep saying that education is an essential element giving a global response to the climate change and sustainability. And also at the end of my presentation, you see that actually we have to embrace, as a consumer, we also have to embrace new ideas. What if 10 years time in Bordeaux, having a Touriga National grape variety, would you like to try? For myself, I would like to try, because the climate change, we cannot, I would say that we can try to slower the climate change if all of us to make a small step every single day. We can help to slow down the climate change. But on the other hand, we have to embrace a new idea as a wine consumer. If we don't embrace our new idea, then as a vineyard manager, just like your good self working in the vineyard, that you have to wait 2 years or 3 years, there's no income, not even talk about, you're talking about the entrepreneur. Yeah, you have no chances to make the money for the 2 or 3 years, especially for the Bordeaux winemaker. It's very important about the money invests on their wine production, etc., etc. So I totally hear about your challenges, and it is also about our initiative to tell more people, try to have more new concept about new grape varieties in the classic wine region, and also try to explore some new wine regions to taste the classic grapes as well. Thank you. So any further questions? So Benita, over to you.
Yeah, so thank you, everybody. Sorry we run slightly over time, but I think it was an interesting discussion, and it was. I'm glad you guys all have such an interest, and a lot of you obviously has a lot of knowledge in wine, and hopefully at some point we can do this in person. I think it would be much more.
Yeah, that would be great if we can do somehow, you know, wine tasting.
Yes. So Encompass, we did biodynamic wine tasting before all this COVID thing, and we hope we will do it again. So if you know anybody who is interested to have a group like this, let us know. We are happy to organize. So thank you again for Cybil and her time in joining us tonight, for sharing her knowledge. As said, we will share this some of the slides with you so you can tell your friends about it. And if you have any comments for us, please leave a message on our email, Facebook, whatever way you want. We would love to learn more from you. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Yeah. Good to meet you all. Have a good night. Yeah. Bye-bye.